The Child of the River. It was an ordinary Nkwo market day in Umuofia village when Obinna, a strong young man who tapped palm wine for a living, first set his eyes on Nneka. She was bargaining over yam tubers, her laughter ringing like music. Obinna stood rooted, watching her. Something in his heart whispered, "This is your wife." Days later, he found courage to speak to her as she fetched water from the village stream. Their conversations grew longer, laughter came easier, and before long, love blossomed like the New Yam Festival. Obinna's kinsmen carried palm wine to Nneka's father's compound. There was dancing, kolanut breaking, and prayers from the elders. The bride price was paid, and Nneka followed her husband with joy, her waist beads jingling to the sound of the talking drums. Their face here was filled with happiness. Every evening, Obinna would return from the farm and sit under the udara tree with Nneka, dreaming of children running around the compound. When no child came, whispers began. At the stream, women asked Nneka, "Are you not yet with child?" Her smiles began to fade, though she tried to remain hopeful. They traveled to Enugu and Onitsha, doctor hospitals. Doctors ran tests, gave medicines, but after months of waiting, nothing changed. Their hearts grew heavier. By the third year, Obinna's mother grew restless. She called her son secretly and said, "A tree that refuses to bear fruit should not stop you from planting another." Obinna shook his head. "I will not abandon Nneka," he replied firmly. Hoping for a miracle, they turned to churches. They fasted, prayed, sowed seeds, yet the womb remained silent. Nights were filled with tears as Nneka tried to hide from her husband. By the fifth year, neighbors mocked them openly. "What is marriage without children?" they asked. Obinna comforted his wife, but deep within, his own faith was shaking. One night, Nneka dreamt of a tall woman clothed in white, standing by a wide river. The woman stretched her hands and said, "Come to me, and I will give you a child." Nneka woke up trembling. Sweat was running down her face. One afternoon, as Nneka wept by the roadside after hearing more insults from co-wives in her husband's kindred, an old woman approached her. The old woman's voice was cracked with age but heavy with wisdom. "My daughter," she said, "if the doctors and churches fail you, there are other ways. Go to the river. The water people do not close their wombs." That night, Nneka could not sleep. Her Christian faith warned her against idols, yet her barren womb cried louder. She thought of the dream, of the river woman calling her. Could it be the answer? When she told Obinna about the advice, his face turned red with anger. "Nneka, do you want to drag my household into the house of idols? Tofiakwa, I would rather remain childless than bow to the river." But sorrow can drive a woman beyond reason. One moonless night, Nneka slipped out of the compound, her wrapper tied tightly. Carrying coconut and palm oil, she followed the old woman into the thick forest path that led to the great river. At the river bank, a priestess appeared. Her eyes were sharp like fire, her voice calm, yet commanding. "You seek a child?" she asked. Yes, mother, Nneka whispered. Then know this. This child will come, but he will belong to us. Raise him carefully, for he is not yours alone. They performed rituals under the moonlight. A white fowl was slaughtered, palm oil poured into the river, and 7 cowries tied in Nneka's wrapper. The water rose slightly, as if accepting the offering. Shaking but hopeful, Nneka returned home before dawn. Her heart was a storm of fear and joy. She looked at her husband sleeping peacefully and thought, "Forgive me, Obinna, I did this for you." A month later, her body changed. She felt heavy in the mornings. Food tasted strange to her, and her belly began to grow. Songs of joy returned to their compound. News spread like harmattan fire. Women came to touch her belly. Men congratulated Obinna. Even his mother danced with pride. At last, shame had departed from their home. After long hours of labor, a son was born. But he did not cry until a woman in the room began to sing a river song. Suddenly, he wailed loudly, shaking the walls. Nneka named him Chimere. God has won. From the first day, people noticed Chimere was not like other babies. He refused breast milk unless his mother sat near a bowl of water. When he cried, he only calmed when someone sang old river songs. As he grew, stubbornness followed him like a shadow. He would not obey simple instruction. If told to sit, he would stand. If told to eat, he would throw his food on the floor. At 5 years, he disappeared one evening. The whole compound searched everywhere. Hours later, he emerged from the river bank, dripping wet, smiling as if nothing had happened. "I was playing with my friends," he said, but no child was seen with him. By 7, Chimere became destructive. He smashed clay pots, torn mats, and scattered food deliberately. His mother scolded him, but his eyes would shine strangely, as if daring her to punish him. At school, he fought bigger boys and left them bleeding. Teachers feared him because no cane seemed to humble him. Whenever punished, he laughed, saying, "You cannot hurt me." Each time the boy misbehaved, Nneka remembered the covenant. Her heart trembled, but she hid the truth from Obinna. Instead, she prayed silently, hoping it was a childish behavior. But Obinna began to notice. "Nneka," he said one night, "this boy is not ordinary. I don't understand him. He looks at me sometimes as if I am his enemy." Nneka tried to force a laugh, but her hands sank. One afternoon, Chimere pushed his younger cousin into the stream. The boy nearly drowned before big villagers pulled him out. Everyone whispered, "This child is not from here." Relatives began avoiding Obinna's home. Children were warned not to play with Chimere. Even elders crossed the road when he passed by, for his presence carried unease. The community began to call him Obanje, a spirit child. Some suggested sacrifices, others whispered of banishment. Nneka wept alone at night, knowing her son was both her joy and her curse. At 12 years old, Chimere grabbed a machete during an argument. His father only rebuked him lightly, yet the boy lifted the blade and swung it. Obinna dodged quickly. His heart was pounding. From that day, he began to fear his son. That night, Nneka locked herself in the kitchen and wept until her wrapper was soaked. She remembered the covenant by the river and realized she had brought a stranger into her home. Sometimes, Chimere will wake at midnight and speak in deep voices that do not belong to a child. His words were strange, his eyes rolled back, and then he would sleep as if nothing happened. The once lively compound grew silent. Relatives avoided visiting. Even Obinna and Nneka walked on eggshells, afraid to offend the boy. The child they had prayed for had become their torment. Chimere began to receive ordinary foods. He demanded fish straight from the river, refusing to eat yam or cassava unless it was soaked in water from the stream. If he was not given, he would get angry, breaking everything in sight. One night, Obinna shouted in frustration, "Nneka, this is no longer a home, but a prison. If this continues, I will send you back to your father's house." His words pierced Nneka's heart like a spear. Many nights, Chimere vanished. Obinna once followed him secretly and saw him walking into the river as if welcomed by unseen hands. Terrified, he ran back home and vowed never to follow again. At 14, Chimere almost set the house ablaze. He lighted dry palm leaves and threw them into the thatched roof. Neighbors rushed in to help quench the flames, but everyone looked at him with deep suspicion. Desperate, Nneka sought the help of a dibia again. The man demanded another sacrifice, goat, palm wine, and a young cockerel. But Obinna refused, saying, "We will not sink deeper into darkness." Obinna gathered courage and declared, "If we must find peace, we will not find it in shrines. We will go to God." And yet, a new pastor has come to the village. He will take this boy there, whether the spirit like it or not. A young pastor, full of zeal and prayer, had just arrived in Umuofia. Stories of his deliverance services spread quickly. Obinna, desperate for hope, decided to take Chimere there. Before the service, Nneka broke down in tears. She confessed everything: her secret journey to the river, the covenant, the sacrifices. Obinna was crushed, but the pastor said gently, "There is forgiveness and there is power to break every chain." The pastor commanded a 3-day dry fast for the family. No food,
I will never
only
give up on
prayers
what I
and
believe
waters. Neighbors also joined, and for the first
I know
time,
you won't.
there was hope in their hearts. On the third night, the church was filled. The drums beat softly. Worship songs rose. Chimere sat quietly at first, but as prayers began, his eyes grew wide and he started to shake. Suddenly, Chimere screamed. His voice no longer that of a boy. Cheers scattered everywhere. A deep voice thundered, "Leave him. He belongs to us. He was given to the river." The pastor stood firmly. "Spirit of the river, you have no authority here. This child belongs to God, not to you." The congregation shouted, "Amen." Chimere fell on the floor, foaming at the mouth. His hands grew cold. His eyes rolled back. The pastor pressed his hand on the boy's head, praying in tongues. Nneka clung to Obinna, trembling in fear and hope. After hours of prayer, a loud cry burst from Chimere. His body went limp, and then he whispered in a weak child voice, "Mama, I am hungry." The evil presence had departed. From that day, Chimere became calm and obedient. He laughed like other children, went to school without trouble, and never again visited the river at night. Peace returned to Obinna's household. In the village square, elders gathered to discuss the miracle. The pastor warned, "Desperation can lead us into covenant that brings sorrow. Patience in God may delay, but it never denies." Nneka and Obinna shared their story with tears of gratitude. They had learned that true blessings come only from God, not from the spirits of the river. We have come to the end of this story. If you enjoyed this story and learned from it, kindly support me by liking my video, commenting, and also subscribe for more stories. Thank you.